morning. You're listening to Central Wisconsin's 24-hour information station, AM 1320 WFHR. It's time now for the Morning Magazine, brought to you by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. Now, with the Morning Magazine, here's Carl Hilke.
Thank you, Jerry, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's show on AM 1320 and streaming live at WFHR.com. We also welcome our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media, and the reason why they're here, it's time for our monthly visit with the Wood County Sheriff's Department. Sheriff Thomas Reichert is here, and as usual, he's brought along a special guest. With that, we say Happy New Year, Sheriff.
Happy New Year to you. I hope that your holiday season went well.
It did go well. It went very well.
I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So
for all of our listeners also. It's, New Year is upon us. It seems like 2017 went very quickly.
Yeah. And went too quickly, and already 2018, with all the planning I'm doing, it's like, okay.
I bet.
Okay. So, as you've always like to bring along a special member of the department, and we're going to be talking about something that I've actually talked about with the Wood County's Ag Director.
I was happy to hear when you had mentioned that off air before we started the show. Our guest today is Lieutenant Charlie Hugesteger, who is a night patrol captain on our department. Charlie started employment with the Sheriff's Department in 2010, and I promoted him to his current rank of lieutenant in 2015. Doing a bang-up job, doing a good job for us on the road. You get a very good feel of how competent people are in terms of when you assign them things and how the end product comes back to you. And I have to say, Charlie has been one of our best since we kind of switched our model to a more direct supervision type model, a more modern model, and he has really done a great job for us. One of the things, though, or the big thing actually that Charlie is here that you alluded to, is Farm Technology Days, which are going to happen in July of this year. Charlie is our liaison to Farm Tech Days and has been very, very involved with the planning aspect of it in terms of the law enforcement response. It's really cool when you have something like Farm Technology Days that are going to bring thousands and thousands of people in. But what's sometimes lost on people is the planning aspect and what that does, like in terms of traffic, parking, controlling crowds, and so on. These are huge issues, and I think we take it for granted just because it always seems to happen. But
it goes about smoothly.
Whenever there's a Packer game, though, or whenever there's a Badger game, there's a lot of behind-the-scene work that goes on in terms of transportation, in terms of getting from point A to point B, in terms of parking, in terms of how you enforce those type of things. If you didn't have a plan for it, you'd have chaos.
Yeah.
You'd have cars like driving into each other, and it would, traffic flows would be terribly off center. So Charlie is kind of our point man on making sure that this works well. He works on a specific committee with my wife Missy, and every time they have a meeting, Missy comes home and mentions how what a rock star Charlie is to the Farm Technology Days. And I said, just learning something I knew several years ago already.
Okay. So. Well, the logistics of moving traffic and moving a lot of people in a confined area can be daunting. And I know that. And this is going to be up in the Marshfield area, and 3 farms or families are cooperating with it. So how long have you been meeting on this so far, Charlie?
Up to this point, I would say once we found out that Farm Technology Days was going to be coming into Wood County, it's approaching 2.5 years at this point that I've been working on this. Okay,
so you got this rural area, and you got country roads, and you're going to be parking in fields.
That's correct.
And just give and you're going to have hundreds of thousands of people coming to this small confined area. Good luck. Okay.
I'm sure we'll need it, but I think,
how do you begin with that process? I just
big fields.
Yeah, I know. Really big fields.
Yeah.
Okay.
The actual site for this our show, just outside the city of Marshfield, actually is very conducive to have an event like this. It's mostly contained in a 1 mile block, so we are able to have tent city in there. All of our parking, everything is confined to that area, so we don't have a lot of traffic going across roads once people are at the show, which makes it obviously very important for safety concerns. There's going to be some limited parts where we'll have to leave that 1 mile block for field demos and things like that. But other than that, it's pretty much contained in there, so it makes the safety of the people that are at the show a lot easier than crossing these roads.
Of course, and we always hope for the best in weather.
Absolutely.
But we always know that time of year, and there have been other farm shows in other counties where you have severe weather all of a sudden arrives. And you got to move people quickly to a safe place. I would imagine some of your logistical planning includes what to do in the event something like that happens.
Absolutely. With some of the past shows that we've had, that I've been to, 2016 was Walworth County. They had some severe heat, a couple storms that came up, and that's all part of planning through the processes to have those plans in place. If there is a weather event, what do we do? Is it just shelter in place? Is it something where we evacuate everybody out of there? The nice thing about this is a lot of the different departments and agencies that we work with have contingency plans and things like that, like emergency management, working with Steve Cruiser. He's got a lot of that stuff set up. So we're able to kind of piggyback off of what their plans are, and it makes our planning quite a bit easier as well.
Okay. Now you say from a traffic flow planning, this is pretty good. What highway will bring in most people? Are you going to be coming off of 10? How do you envision the traffic flowing?
All directions.
Okay.
Given that our show is centrally located in the state, typically the area that they pull from, or the people that come to the show, typically are coming from within 100 miles of every direction from the site, which would put us pretty much a good portion of most of the state, with parts 100 miles that go into eastern Minnesota a little bit. So then based on that area, what I did is I went through and I figured out how many farms are in each county. Marathon County is a huge farming population. Clark County, huge farming population. So based on those numbers, then you start figuring the number of people coming in. So the most direct routes are going to be US Highway 10 in both directions, east and west. 97 will probably filter in a lot of the individuals that are coming to the show from Marathon County in northern Wisconsin. 73 through 29 in western Wisconsin, and then obviously 80, 73 from the south coming from southern Wisconsin. So it's going to be a lot of different directions, but those are our main thoroughfares.
And then how many different agencies will be patrolling or helping to regulate the traffic from all of those different areas?
At this point, I have obviously the Will County Sheriff's Department, Wisconsin State Patrol, Marshfield Police Department involved in our traffic plans.
Okay. When do you anticipate would be the heaviest times? Early in the day, noon, late in the day when people are leaving?
Typically, the peak traffic flow or traffic times are going to be that 8:30 to 11 in the morning while everybody is getting to the show. And then in the afternoon, the show typically is wrapping up around that 4 o'clock mark, so maybe 2:30 to 5 o'clock is when people will start exiting. And usually it's a pretty fast arrival and a pretty fast departure for everybody.
And I would imagine some folks will be staying in Marshfield, and there'll probably be stuff coming to the Wisconsin Rapids area to stay. Oh, so you'll have that influx of traffic added to your normal traffic in these communities.
Absolutely.
So that's, I guess, one, is there going to be a publicity campaign to let locals know, okay, listen, this is why you might see some increased traffic during certain times, and to plan for it?
Absolutely. I've had communication with the Wood County Highway Department to discuss, whether we have message boards out there indicating, next week or the week or these 3 days, there's going to be increased traffic, there's going to be an event in the area. The other thing is there's social media from the Farm Technology Days Committee as well that are putting things out there. With the hospital in Marshfield, that presents a problem as well with the number of vehicles in and out, the number of employees that work at the hospital. So those are all things that I have to take into account. And,
of course, we can help you out with, if there's an immediate something that needs to get out, we can pop on the air real quick here, and also at our sister up in Marshfield at DLB, so that's something to use. But, yeah, this is going to be... Have they given you an estimate of how many people they're anticipating?
Well, this last 2017 show was in Kewaunee County, which is in eastern Wisconsin. They had right around 30,000 people. With their location being right on Lake Michigan, they're only pulling from half of the area that we're potentially pulling from. So it could be 60,000, 50 to 60,000 people, depending on weather. There's a lot of variables as well.
Yeah, and that's a lot of traffic on roads that maybe weren't designed for.
Absolutely.
For that. What about for the people that live really close to the site? What kind of communication is being done with them?
Once we get a little bit closer to the show, my plan was to team up with Marshfield Police Department and make personal contact, especially with the properties that are going to be directly influenced. There's going to be, obviously, everybody in the city of Marshfield will be impacted at some point because of the number of vehicles and the amount of traffic that's going to be there. But the ones where the roads are going to be potentially closed, my plan is to go and make direct contact with them, explain to them this is the times that are going to be influenced, that you may see a problem with traffic, and then also issue them those parking passes so they can get past the road closed signs and things like that.
Of course, you folks have helped with another big event that happens every summer down in our neck of the woods over by Lake Wazeecha with the Wisconsin State Water Ski Show Tournament, which brings in, again, thousands of people into a confined space. So you have some experience to use that to work off.
Right, way on the front end of this, I met with some local county leaders as well as folks that represented the Farm Technology Days program. And really the question was put to me, in a rather roundabout way is can you guys handle this? And I have no doubt that we can. I am certain that in terms of our piece of this puzzle, in terms of making sure that people are safe, that our roads are safe, that we have the necessary folks to make sure that people are going to be able to go to this event and get there and enjoy it. I told them with resounding yes. I was certain that we could handle this. I have seen nothing to date that would indicate that we're not up to this challenge. I think you make a good point, that we regularly handle a variety of water ski shows, state, national, you name it. We've done it. We handle things. We assist in handling things on both ends of the county. Large gatherings on July 4th, where thousands of people come in and we're able to assist. The Pittsville parade, a huge parade.
Yeah.
It's we're always in on the ground floor on that. So this, while I'm not going to make a comparison between a local parade and Farm Technology Days, this is a much bigger league. But I'm certain that we're up for it, and I'm positive that we're going to have good results from this.
But if you look at the Pittsville Day, after the parade's over, a lot of the folks are heading south because of the huge pyro musical in downtown Wisconsin Rapids.
True.
So you got that, all of a sudden you got this huge flow of traffic coming from the north into the city of Wisconsin Rapids. So you're used to coordinating with, how often do you meet, not just as a committee, but with your compatriots in the State Patrol, Marshfield Police Department, just to double check on notes or learn about something that might have come up that you didn't think about before?
When I first started planning this process, I wanted to get the traffic portion solid, make sure that there's no issues with that. And so we met quite frequently to start. At this point now, my focus has actually been towards the public safety side of things, the fire, the EMS things. A lot of times the communications that I have with the traffic side of things is just email at this point. And then as we get even closer, there's going to be more regular meetings, probably monthly and maybe even every other week or weekly meetings.
So you mentioned fire and EMS and dealing with a potential medical emergency on the site. Someone has a heart attack, or there's like you mentioned, heat stroke or something like that, fire or a weather emergency. How do you plan for that?
The only thing that you can do is to think of any possibility and plan for it. Like you said, a heart issue, a heat stroke. You have to have things in place to make sure that everything, any type of emergency can be handled. Looking back through past shows, that's one thing that we're able to do is to find out what type of emergencies there are and then kind of plan based off of the other shows as well.
Okay, we're going to open up our phone lines. You can talk to both of these gentlemen by calling us at 715-424-2600. And Sheriff, you were kind enough to give me these
Challenge coins.
Challenge coins, basically honor your career.
Honoring the Sheriff's Department and my time as Sheriff, yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to do is the first three people that call with a question today, I'll give them a call. A coin.
Very nice. It's a nice collectible.
It's a very nice looking coin. So why don't I get our first caller on the air? Good morning. You're on the Morning Magazine.
Yes, gentlemen, and thank you so much. And this challenge coin will have extreme value personally, and I'm glad to have it. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
And all of us, as we're listening to this show, we have got professionals that deal with this every day. And so I know that the loops have to be closed, and you have to cover everything, the extreme everythings. But the professionals are so there, and I don't know how our taxes even cover everything that we get in this town. And I'm not championing for anybody. Politically, I just think that our taxes are extremely reasonable. That being said, though, I do have a concern, and this I think should go to the sheriff, perhaps or perhaps not. I know that there's other counties in the state and there's other states with our opiate overdose, and I know that you have said that maybe it's not as bad as we really think that it is, but we know that our ERs are full of needing people that are needing prescriptions. I'm wondering if we'll ever, and I will listen off the air because this is kind of extreme. I overheard somebody say that he had been brought back and had overdosed 7 times. Now, this was not a local gentleman. This is in Milwaukee. 7 times. And I'm wondering if we're ever going to do the 3 strikes, you're out. The first time, yeah, we'll take care of you. The second time, we'll demand that you get into some kind of care. And the third time, I'm sorry, this is costing us a lot, and I'm sorry, you need to take responsibility. This is very pricey for us as a county, not only in autopsies, but in just your time and energy. I will listen off the air, and does it sound very unchristian? I'm sorry, it maybe does, but we need to come to a reality that not everybody feels that their life is worth saving. And if they don't, why should we? Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. So, your thoughts?
Well, it's a huge issue. I don't mean to downplay it. I mean to, in some of the other discussions that we've had about this, I've pointed out that this isn't unprecedented in our history. We've had spikes before in drug use, but I will agree that the opioid and heroin issues present something to us that we have not had, certainly in the last 20 years. It's a really tough question because I think you almost have to go to where is addiction best dealt with. And I would strongly argue that it's not best dealt with in the jail. We don't have programs, we don't have the money or the personnel to staff a program that can specifically deal with someone that has an addiction problem. We keep people in jail that are awaiting court and are being punished for up to a year for being convicted by our courts. And when you put someone that has an addiction into the jail setting, it creates a huge problem for our setting. And unfortunately, I don't have a great answer to it. I think there has to be some sort of a community action. I don't know, that our hospitals are equipped as they sit today to deal with some of these issues either. I do believe that this is a problem that we are going to eventually see decrease, and we are already seeing some anecdotal evidence that is happening. We're seeing a shift away from the opioids, away from heroin, to some of the other drugs, to some, I guess, what's, from one evil to another.
Yeah.
But we're certainly seeing things go to maybe some drugs that aren't going to affect people in terms of whether or not they live or not. Very, very similar to when we had this same kind of spike in the late 80s and early 90s with cocaine. There really isn't a whole lot of difference between the spike itself. It's just a matter that it's a lot easier to die from doing heroin than it is to die from doing cocaine. And hopefully we'll get some relief from that. I don't see any great answers out in the community right now in terms of treatment facilities.
I don't see, in her suggestion, I don't see a community going to that extreme. Well, sorry.
Well, I don't think that really would be a viable idea either, just to write these people off. I certainly wouldn't want to do that, but I do understand the frustration that the caller has.
Yeah, I understand
regarding what's going on. It does get very frustrating sometimes when you have someone that has overdosed multiple times or that we get multiple calls to go to, and maybe we've used Narcan and resuscitated them. It's hard to understand. I think it's hard for us to understand folks that aren't addicted. I think it's hard to understand what's happening there, the dynamics of the addiction itself.
Maybe the key is after a certain time you have mandatory, just like you with drunk driving, there's mandatory jail time passes. You have mandatory treatment. You get incarcerated in a treatment center. Of course, that's one of the biggest problems too, is we don't have enough treatment centers.
Well, I think that is the biggest problem. I think that's the bottom line issue of this. It's easy for a judge to sentence someone to 60 days or 100 days or a year or whatever the case might be in jail, particularly in a county jail. What are we doing? We're basically just providing some time where the person can at least
Dry
withdrawal.
Out.
Go through the withdrawal process and come off the initial high. There's always going to be that pull to go back to that old lifestyle when they get out of jail. So, I really don't have a great answer for it, other than we're doing the best that we can in terms of our facilities at the jail. In terms of we've tried to be very, very proactive in terms of the sheriff's department. We were the first department in our county and in our area to put Narcan in the cars so that we could address this rather than just sitting over someone that's overdosed and trying to comfort them as they're dying. We actually can do something about it. So I unfortunately, when I first started back at the sheriff's department in the early 80s, one of my training officer, an old friend of mine, told me, I was a kind of a bright-eyed young guy that wanted to change the world, and he said, Thomas, sometimes there's nothing that the police can do for people.
Yeah.
It's just there's a limit to where it ends, and we're not in a position where we can wave a magic wand and make these things go away.
We got another caller, and then we got to take our first break. Good morning. You're on the Morning Magazine.
Hi, I have two questions. When are these farm progress days, and where in Marshall is this located?
The Farm Technology Days are going to be occurring July 10th, 11th, and 12th. And it's going to be at the D&B Sternweiss Farm and Hyman Family Farms. It's two families that are working together. And the particular location is going to be at the intersection of County H and County B, so it's just right outside the city limits of Marshfield.
Oh, okay. Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Would you like one of these coins?
Well, yeah, that's fine.
Okay, what's your name?
Carol Schneider.
Okay, well, Carol, you know how to get to the radio station?
Sure.
Okay, you'll have one of these coins waiting for you at the front desk.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And with that, we have to take our first break. You're listening to The Morning Magazine on AM 1320 and streaming live at WFHR.com. We also welcome Jesse from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media.
Good morning and welcome back to The Morning Magazine, presented by Comfort Air Heating, Cooling, Plumbing. It's time for part 2. Once again, here's Carl Hilke.
Thanks again, Jerry, and welcome back, everybody, to today's show on AM 1320 and streaming live at WFHR.com. We also welcome our friends from Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. And in the studio, the reason why we're having our monthly visit with Wood County Sheriff Thomas Reichert, and also in is Lieutenant Charlie Hugestager, who is in charge of the liaison between the Sheriff's Department and everybody putting on Farm Technology Days this coming summer up in the Marshfield area. We got a caller patiently waiting, and they're going to win the third coin for being that patient. You have a question or comment for our gentleman today? Hello, you're on the air. Okay, you could have been a winner. So the next caller will win the last coin, and it's 424-2600. You said you wanted to make an announcement?
I do. Thank you for allowing me to do it on your show.
Okay.
In recent weeks, I've been getting several questions from a variety of people regarding what my future plans are in terms of running for my current position as Wood County Sheriff. Well, I wanted to go on record early for a number of reasons. But I don't plan to seek re-election as Wood County Sheriff in the 2018 election. And I'd kind of like to explain why. There is, the office of sheriff has changed a lot. And I'm announcing that I'm not going to seek re-election for a purpose. Since I became sheriff in 2005, I think that the office itself has kind of revolutionized, and particularly the area of how it's perceived in terms of elective politics. I know there are several people that are out in our community that work at the Sheriff's Department, for instance, that are interested in succeeding me and have come and spoke to me about it, indicating that they would never run against me, but if I wasn't going to seek re-election, that they would be very interested in running. And I wanted to give them a good opportunity and enough time to be able to do that. The office now, you have to fundraise to run an election. You no longer can really wait just until it's time to take out papers and run an election, possibly do a primary, and have to do the whole process in a very quick period of time. The folks I think that are going to run are going to have to get out there now and start getting their name out in the community. They're going to have to start raising some money, start going to events so that people get to know them. And I didn't want to drag my decision out that impeded them from doing some of the things that I think are going to be necessary for them to do to be successful. That being said, it's extraordinarily hard for me to walk away from this job. This has just been a great career and a great ride. I've been early next month. It'll be 36 years that I've been at the Sheriff's Department, and I've been sheriff since 2005, which has been just the greatest career and the neatest professional thing that has ever happened to me in my life. And really the folks that I have to thank for that are the people that are listening right now, the people in Wood County that have overwhelmingly reelected me in all of these elections. I have absolutely no doubt that had I decided to seek reelection again, that we would run a very successful race, and I believe that I could win again. But I think it's time to step aside and to allow some of the folks that are that have been waiting and that have been in the department for a while to step up. That doesn't make it easy on me. I'm gonna miss it. I just recently I was visiting with Missy about this and talking to her about the fact of how, in addition, like, to the professional aspect of being sheriff, how much I've enjoyed the social aspect of it. Getting to know the people in the county. Having this show like you and I have had for all these years, Carl, and developing a friendship with you and Pam, and having met so many people that I would not have met otherwise. It is really hard to walk away from. But for a number of factors that we'll be able to talk about. One benefit for me announcing this early is we'll have 11 more shows that we'll be able to kind of recap this whole thing and kind of go through some of the things that we've done and some of the plans that I have for the future and how I hope the Sheriff's Department moves forward.
Okay. Well, we certainly wish you well. What you got plans for your retirement? Your retirement years?
I'm. That's kind of a long answer.
I know.
Okay. It's
Missy probably has a lot of honeydew lists.
I'm really disappointed because I think that the next step for me and what, if all else being equal, what I would do is I would probably be, in addition to announcing I'm not running for sheriff again, I would probably be announcing that I'm running for state representative. However, in 2011 or 2012, they kind of changed the rules on how people can run for this. And as you know, if you work for a government agency, you're in the Wisconsin retirement system. And how the rules are is if I would run for state representative right now, I would have to freeze the retirement that I'm going to receive when I leave the Sheriff's Department and just take the wages that I would get as being a state representative. Well, the retirement that I'm going to get is more money than what the wages of the state representative is. So it makes absolutely no sense for me to do that. Although, I burn to do it. I would love to continue my political career, and I'm hoping that maybe somewhere along the line, even though it doesn't appear that a run for a state assembly is a potential because of this law that was passed in 2000. It was either 11 or 12. It was a double dipping law. It was, and,
I'm familiar with it.
So it doesn't appear that that's on the horizon, but maybe somewhere some folks might vote for me to be an alderman or a school board someplace, and maybe be able to bring some of my experience to some different area of electoral politics. But I've got a lot of stuff planned and a lot of possibilities in front of me. I was approached recently at the courthouse by an attorney here in town that had heard rumors that I might not run again, and he was urging me to go to law school, which actually Missy and I talked about, and I'm still considering. I don't know, I wouldn't certainly make a decision on that today, but I think there's a number of great things out there, and I really look forward to doing things, doing volunteer work, for my church, and I look forward to trying to make a difference in my community and doing things like on a strictly volunteer basis that would add to the community and help people that are in need. So I think that as we go forward, I think the sky's the limit, and I think that's something we'll probably maybe chat about if you're willing and on future shows.
Well, we wish you all the best, and thank you for the announcement. So, with that, we got a caller. So let's get I want to thank the caller for being patient. So for your patience, you're going to get the last coin. But your question or comment for either of our two gentlemen this morning?
Yeah, I have a comment to Sheriff Reichert.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Tom, I just want to say I appreciate your service as sheriff and that, and certainly going to miss you, and your announcement certainly wrecked my day. Thanks, but again, I appreciate your service.
Well,
thanks.
Thank you so much for the kind comments. I'm sorry that I'm complicating your day. That really, I take that in a very heartfelt way. That we're heading in a little bit different direction here. It's going to be a while, though. You're not gonna get rid of me until next January.
So you got a term to fill. Who do you have? You want one of these coins? Hello. Oh, they must have left.
They must have left us.
Okay.
Thank you so much for the call. That's very kind.
Okay, well, the next person that calls gets the last coin, but I got to take one more break, and then we'll be back to wrap up this edition of the Morning Magazine. Welcome back to the final portion of today's Morning Magazine. Wood County Sheriff Thomas Reichert here. Lieutenant Charlie Hugestager is well, and he's been the liaison for the department with the folks with the Farm Technology Days. And one thing I wanted to talk to you about, Lieutenant, how many law enforcement people overall are we looking at during the course of the event or during an individual day being on site, or how are we planning for this?
Well, there's probably going to be around 10 different traffic posts that we're going to have manned to make sure that the traffic flows is safe and efficient. We'll also have some people on the grounds as well, making sure that if people have questions or if they maybe get separated from their party, that we can help with that. There's also going to be several state patrol troopers in the area. So I would say at a given time, there's probably, 15 to 20 law enforcement officers above and beyond what our normal staff will be, above and beyond what Marshfield's normal staff would be.
Of course, we live in an era where nothing can be taken for granted, and that includes, that we're free from a terrorist attack of some kind. So I would imagine you have to plan for the unthinkable as well.
Absolutely. There's the only way that we can really plan for these is working through what we refer to as tabletop exercises. If like we touched on earlier with the medical emergencies, you plan for that. We say, okay, we're going to have this type of situation at this location. How are we going to do it? How are we going to proceed? And we get everybody that has a hand in the show to talk about that. You mentioned like a terrorist attack or something like that. If we think that, or as we plan for these things, we're going to have everybody sit down, and essentially it's sitting around a table and say, okay, what's your role going to be? What's your role going to be? That way, if it does happen, and hopefully it doesn't, but we're able to prepare for it, and we can plan accordingly and then act on it.
Okay, that's the stuff that's tough, but you have to. You have to prepare, just like you have to prepare, there's a tornado headed this way, and how do we get people out of a fast-moving storm as quickly as possible? Would you be able to?
Those are the things that we'd have to work through. A lot of it is, different types of weather. Example, the plan is to get in contact with Green Bay, La Crosse, and say this is what we have. This is what we have in our county at this time, and there's going to potentially be 15, 20,000 people.
So they can provide a special forecast for you?
Absolutely. So if something pops up that they see, they can let us know, hey, this storm's coming towards you. We also have been in contact with the ham radio operators that can provide services as well for storms. And working with them, they see something, we're able to say we need to move, we need to shelter in place, we need to evacuate. We have different evacuation points throughout the area.
Would there be places to shelter at the event?
Shelter in place is, get into a low-lying area. try to basically protect yourself, the ones you're with, and that's obviously a last resort. If that happens,
better to get everybody out of there well in advance.
Absolutely.
So you probably would err on the side of being overly conservative and saying, let's just clear the grounds.
Absolutely.
Because there is a storm headed this way. We don't know if it's going to hit here, but we got to get these people out of here.
Absolutely. And in the technology with weather, things like that.
And we all have the smartphones.
And that's the big thing, is everybody's going to be on those, and they'll know if weather's in the area or it's possibly approaching that area.
Okay. So it sounds, Sheriff, we're going to be prepared to handle
I have no doubt that we will be. I would never have committed us to this if I didn't think that was going to be a likely outcome, that we would be able to be ready for whatever came up. And my having Charlie be the liaison to this, I think, is a testament to his skills that I perceive and his ability to do this. I know that he, like I had mentioned earlier, he has totally wowed Missy in terms of how he's going about his business, and I've heard similar comments from other people that are on the Farm Tech Committee, that they're very, very happy with how the Sheriff's Department piece of this is working out, and I think it's going to work out really good for us. And it's going to be a great thing for our county.
Oh yeah,
what is the big, the bigger picture of this is that this isn't like about the Sheriff's Department doing this or that. It's about what's good and what's going to be really
promote our county.
Promote our county and put our county on center stage again. And this is a great thing for our community, for our county community, and it's going to be something that I think a lot of people, both farm families and non-farm families, are going to find pretty interesting, and would be a nice day trip to go to.
Okay. And we should mention the Missy Reichert she heads up the Heart of Wisconsin Chamber of Commerce, and of course the Chambers of Commerce, Marshfield Rapids, and all the different business organizations and social organizations that are involved. I mean, this is, like you said, it's going to be a celebration of Wood County.
It really is.
And we're going to be showing off our county to people who are going to be wanting to see the whole county.
And our county is just incredible. It's incredibly diverse in terms of terrain. It's beautiful. We've got wonderful parks. We've got great cities. We've got waterways that are second to none. And all of those things are going to be exposed in these farm tech days, and it's going to just be a win-win thing for our county.
Okay. As we, with this cold weather, this bitter cold weather, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about how the Wood County Sheriff's Department has been handling this. I mean, one of the biggest fears, and there's already been reports of how many people have died across the nation because of the cold outbreak, but I guess we need to stress, if you're doing traveling, especially at night, to be prepared. I would imagine, since you patrol at night, that's got to be one of your nightmare scenarios, as all of a sudden somebody is lost in the middle of the evening.
Absolutely. And even if it's, today I think you said it was 4 or 5 degrees.
It's 5 right now,
5.
And wind chill is well below zero, probably 11 to 12 below zero.
And even on a mild winter night, if people are underway, it's not safe, and we have to be very proactive if people are reported missing, that we get out there and we start looking for them. The biggest thing is with travel is to be prepared. Vehicles, it's equipment, they can break down. Make sure you have your gloves, your hats, your blankets. Make sure you have the appropriate things for everybody in the vehicle, not just yourself and kids. Being prepared is going to help out a lot.
Yeah. Make sure you have your winter survival kit.
Absolutely.
Wisconsin Emergency Management, they sent out a thing, including a list of all the stuff you should have in it. And let people know, hey, if you're leaving Rapids and you're going to Marshfield, let the people know in Marshfield, hey, I'm leaving now, I'm going to be there by, and here's the route I'm taking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if at any point you cross the way, you experience some type of mechanical issue or you need help, don't hesitate to call. That's what we're there for.
That's it. That's another thing. Make sure you got a fully charged phone with you so that you can call 911 if you needed to.
It's unfortunately, and I say unfortunately because we've had this discussion.
I know
that it's the best and the worst thing that's ever been invented. On this side though, it's the best thing because it provides a measure of safety for you when you're traveling. We don't need to go in all the
right. No, but GPS. You folks can use the GPS feature on these phones to track somebody, maybe find them that way, and the like. So I mean, but just have you run into many problems so far this winter in terms of unusual circumstances?
As of yet, not yet. We haven't had any major issues.
Official knocking on wood.
Absolutely.
Okay. But I'm sure it's something that, again, it's always in the back of your mind during these cold stretches, or if all of a sudden there's a power outage in a rural area. What would you do? Say if you had to get people to a warm spot, a village hall or something like that.
I don't mean to cut off the subject, but we still have a coin.
We still have a coin.
Whether we could.
The next
we've got
caller.
a couple minutes.
Yeah, 424-2600. The next person that calls gets the coin. That's it. 424-2600. This is a beautiful coin. It's a beautiful coin, and you'd like this for your collection. And we already gave away 2. We got one more, so come on. 715-424-2600. Okay, we got our winner. We have our winner. Okay, would you like this coin?
Yes, I would.
Who is this?
Mary Jo Stransky from Junction City.
Mary Jo, well, congratulations, Mary Jo. You're going to get this. And you know how to get to the radio station?
In Wisconsin Rapids?
Yeah.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, you can pick it up here at the station. Want to say thank you to the sheriff?
Yes, thank you for your services. Too bad you are retiring, but please enjoy it.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And thanks for calling and getting the coin.
All right, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you're going to have, like I said, no, you're going to be busier now. For one thing, your lovely bride is going to go, okay, let's see, I need him to work on this.
I could see that happening. Her and I have discussed this a lot.
I'm sure you have.
In the months leading up to this. And I'm not going to be at a lack of things to do. I'm so very blessed in my life. I have wonderful, I've had a wonderful career. I've got great opportunities ahead of me. I'm looking forward to it. But, I thought it was important that I keep my commitment to the people of Wood County and serve out the rest of my term. And I am looking forward to serving out the rest of my term through 18 and being a part of things like Farm Technology Days and some of the other things that we're going to have coming up this year, like that we typically do, like the water ski shows and the picnics and all the rest, and as well as continuing on with our traditions here on the show.
Yeah, and I'm going to announce right now for whoever is elected the next sheriff, I want to continue this tradition. So the next sheriff will have the same opportunity to meet with their constituents on a monthly basis. Want to continue the dialogue.
Which is so important. And we've been doing this now for 12 years, almost 13.
Wow.
And I can't, there's no way to measure actually how important doing a show like this has been, in terms of my time as sheriff. It's just been so key being able to talk to people and getting our message out about what we're doing.
Okay. Well, we wish you all the best, but we still got a lot of work ahead. And
got a lot of work to do.
And thank you, and keep us posted on Farm Technology Days. I know between you and Mr. Lippert, we
should have it covered.
We'll have it covered, and wish you all the best as well. Gentlemen, stay warm.
Thank you. You also, Carl.
Okay. And with that, we'll wrap up today's edition of the Morning Magazine on AM 1320 and WFHR.com, as well as Wisconsin Rapids Community Media. We want to thank Jesse for being here this morning.